sometimes you have that little bit of imposter syndrome, right?
Going from that claims cubicle to where you are today.
Everybody else is smarter than me. I don't know as much.
That's what we're all doing. There's a bunch of guys in their 60s and 70s who have imposter syndrome still. I had a building fall down, and the only thing I was covered for was the pride of Western National is here. Brett Purcell. Brett, how are you, man?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. I'm doing very well. So we've only known each other for a few months, but you dropped by our office. You're renewing a sales push with Western National. Yep. You're overseeing 5 states for the carrier. You didn't start there. So start me at the beginning. Like, where did you start and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, my journey is kind of fun. I mean, I kind of pinch myself sometimes wondering how I got here and sitting here with you in Boise, Idaho. Kid from Ohio growing up, started my insurance career back in Columbus, Ohio with a carrier called State Auto Mutual. Like most, I did not try to get into the insurance business. It was the early 2000s. Got out of college. I think I was living on my brother's couch for a little while, applying for all kinds of things that I could get my hands on and seeing who would at least give me a paycheck. My mother actually knew a gentleman at State Auto that was in their claims department, a VP or manager, and they were hiring, particularly young college kids that were looking to get into the insurance business. So started my career in the claims role, doing, sitting in a cubicle, doing auto physical damage claims and getting screamed at by people that just wrecked their cars. It's an interesting way to start your real world life, if you will.
So State Auto, compare State Auto to a carrier folks maybe in the Northwest would be familiar with. What would be a good parallel?
They're now owned by Liberty, so I think times have changed certainly. Okay. So they are now Liberty, but I think more of like a Mutual of Enumclaw or a Western National. At that time when I was with them, they were a little bit more of your regional, super regional company, but certainly have grown substantially in the last 20 or so years. But they were fantastic in letting me cut my teeth in the insurance business, and I won't lie, I think I tried several times to get out of the insurance business, but just not knowing what type of career it could really be for me at that moment, and really not having found my place in terms of what within the business that it could be for me. So I'm glad I actually stuck with it, particularly at a time when I saw my friends doing mortgages and things like that in the early 2000s, making a lot more money than I was making, and it was certainly tempting to go that route, but I stuck it out, and I'm just so grateful for this industry, and I think the pathway that it can provide, and so many different places for different people and what they want to do. But so I started my career there, and then I actually took a chance when I was 27, almost going on 28, had been trying to get a few different roles, and they had expanded west, and I took an opportunity with them to move out to Phoenix, Arizona in 2008, not knowing a soul, never having been to the state, no friends, nothing, but took a chance and moved out there with State Auto. Stayed for a few more years, and then found my way to a regional mutual out of Wisconsin called Secura. Spent 12 years with Secura. At that time, I'd started to get into where I'm at today, more in your territory management type roles. Ultimately moved into a regional VP leadership role with those folks. And then funny enough, my wife is from Boise, Idaho, so that is actually what brought us back here. Had never been to Idaho either until we started dating, and absolutely fell in love with this state. Moved back here so she could have an opportunity to work with her mother in the family business. And then, Western National came a call, and so I've been here about 10 months now, and it's been just tremendous getting to know our agent partners and the organization, and help lead our sales efforts here in the Pacific Northwest and Mountain West.
So Western National put out a national search and said, we need a guy to lead the Northwest, but he has to have hair that looks like John F. Kennedy's. That's what they got. JFK or Mitt Romney, one of the two.
Thanks, Mom and Dad, for having great hair. We're sitting now, but you can't tell. My grandparents were 6'1" and bald, and my parents are both shorter, but have great hair. So I'll take 1 out of 2. Ain't bad.
Dude, how did you give the baldness to me?
That's not even fair. I'm sorry.
So let me get this straight. You're a Buckeye from Columbus, Ohio.
Yep.
You moved to Phoenix, moved to the 602. Was that your
602? I'm a 480 guy.
480. So you're new blood to Phoenix then. And now are you living in Idaho now? Is Boise home?
Yep, Boise's pretty much full time for us.
Okay.
We still get down to Arizona occasionally. We have tons of friends down there and everything, but Boise is home now, and one of the exciting parts for me really in joining Western National and taking on this new venture was 22 years almost this June in the insurance business, but I had never called on agencies or territory in the states that I now lead. So that comes obviously with some nervousness, but also some excitement and coming in with more of a clean slate opportunity to start fresh and see what's what and to build on what I know is already great partnerships with our agencies up here.
So who's nicer? New agents who you haven't met, or a physical damage claims person that feels like they're getting screwed, a claimant who feels like they're not getting a fair shake?
I go with agents, much easier to deal with. And I give agencies credit all the time because I'm a carrier person through and through, obviously only been on the carrier side, and what you all do in dealing with the end user, it can be challenging sometimes. Insurance is not always easiest for people to understand, and there's tough conversations to have with insurers when the rates are going up, and dealing with an independent agent is a little bit easier for me than dealing with that person that just wrecked their car back in the day. So I don't miss the old claims days, but I definitely appreciate what they all do.
So I have a story. I had an account. It was like a wood products manufacturer. He fired me because he had a better deal. And I had a good relationship with this guy. We mostly talk about politics or whatever, right? We just got along. This dude didn't know a thing about insurance. So he goes with a different agent, a really good agent, by the way, who's like an amazing guy. Well, I get a call 2 years later, and this guy, I swear, this is what he said. Brian, I never should have left you. I had a building fall down, and the only thing I was covered for was earthquake and terrorism.
Oh, jeez.
So, for a non-insurance person, you're thinking like, those are the things you never get covered, right? No one in Idaho has earthquake coverage. And terrorism, you just doesn't matter to property. So I said to him, Jake, I hear you. I'll swing by. And I knew he had no concept of the coverage, okay? So he signs a broker record letter, moves it back to me. He blamed the agent. Well, fast forward, I become friends with the agent, who's actually a really good guy, and he's significantly better at coverages than me. And I see this agent at a deal, and I said, hey, are you familiar with this account? And I mentioned the name. He goes, oh my gosh. He goes, I went over in-depth special versus the broad form, and explained like, here's where you're excluded. So one of his buildings looked like a shanty from a refugee camp. Of course, when it snowed, it crushed it, right? So he's like, well, what the heck? Anyway, all that to say, that's what we get to deal with on the agency side. You explain it to them, you write it down, you email them, and they still say, well, why didn't anyone tell me? Right. That's what we're dealing with.
Challenging conversations. And usually they thinking you buy insurance, everything's covered, right? Well,
it's all covered.
Not exactly.
So like in your career, going from that claims cubicle to where you are today, like what seasons of learning did you have, or like what people made an impact in your life that you look back on and say, man, I wouldn't be who I am without this?
I mean, thinking about this a little bit, there's definitely 3 layers of it for me. I mean, certainly my parents, they just had tremendous work ethic. They instilled the values in me that I have today. They were the type of people that, nothing in life is given, everything is earned. So just kind of reflecting and watching my mom and my dad do the things the way they did them and the way they instilled it on me, I carried that forward. I was a wrestler back in the day. I had a coach that mentored me all the way through high school and through my college wrestling career, and he taught me that you don't always have to be born with talent to succeed, and that failure can sometimes be a good thing that you can learn from and build you up to who you are. And you should take and use those examples of failure and turn them into something positive for you. So, I wasn't always the most successful wrestler or really in anything in life, but you learn from everything that happens to you and you take that forward. But in my business career, really, I've had tons of just fantastic servant leaders that honestly just carry more about the growth of me, both personally and professionally, understanding that if I was thriving, that the results would sort of take care of themselves. And I've tried to instill that as now I've moved into leadership roles and others, focusing not solely on the bottom of the top line, but on how I can help the people that I'm leading, whether it's the people that report directly to me, our internal stakeholders at our company, or our agents, right? Like truly showing genuineness and caring about them. And one gentleman in particular, his name's Glenn Dye. I'm actually going to see him next week. He was my first boss with the prior carrier that he kind of gave me the opportunity when I needed it the most. Just kind of doing well in my career, managing a territory down in Arizona, but just really needed that job that was going to take things to the next level. And he just showed a ton of trust in me and gave me that opportunity to see more from myself than maybe what I saw, and that I could be a leader and that I already was in some vein. So he maybe I didn't have the resume, the experience that others had, but he saw something in me maybe that others didn't, and that really launched my career to the next level, going into work for Secure for those 12 years and ultimately move into leadership roles and start really having that trust in myself that I could be the leader that he saw in me, right? So
would you say he helped you cultivate inside yourself, like, hey, this is who I am and the trajectory where my career can go?
Yeah, sometimes you have that little bit of imposter syndrome, right? Particularly when you're in that middle, early part of your career, like everybody else is smarter than me, I don't know as much, I'm a hard worker, sort of back to even the wrestling days of I wasn't just naturally as talented as everybody else, but I knew I could work harder than everybody else. But then finally getting to a point and have somebody realize, like, no, you can do this. But particularly as you're moving into your first leadership role or on the pathway towards your first leadership role, of having that person, that mentor that just sees that trust and sees that you can do this. Certainly still scary as you move into a leadership role for the first time, but you start realizing that, hey, he believed in me and I can do this. So Glenn was just a tremendous leader and person for me in my life, and he's retired now in Arizona, and I'll be down there for some work things next week. So I'm looking forward to having lunch with him and catching up.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to see people who helped you and then give credit to them and like pay it back forward.
Exactly. Paying it forward is the most important part, I think, as we talked about earlier, is having people in your life that were those servant leaders for you and not just focus on hard charging and hitting the numbers, but on honestly like your success personally and professionally. And now you find yourself, and I find myself in those leadership type roles where that's what I want for others. You know? I was at a convention last week and somebody was talking about that. You hope to look back in life and have others talking about you the way you talk about your leaders, so that you can have that impact on somebody else as they come up in their career and in their life. Yeah, that
imposter syndrome is like what you have to overcome. Like I know with our agency, like we're at 90 people right now. So, but when we were at 30, like one thing I'm trying to remind our team of, and I have my own imposter syndrome, but as a team, I'm like, when we had 35 people, if you would have said an agency with 90 people is trying to do this, you would have said, oh yeah, that's a big, scary agency with their act together. The reality is you're the same people you were at 35, you're just growing and learning. And that's what we're all doing. There's a bunch of guys in their 60s and 70s who have imposter syndrome still. You're just trying to like day by day kind of overcome some of those fears.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's been fun for me in this role and as a leader, and I mean, maybe we can punt a little bit in the sales position, is like I don't need to know everything about everything. Like I can be an imposter to some degree, but what I can do is help people go and find the answers to things, and be a great resource, be someone that helps solve problems, but not necessarily the one that has to know the answers to everything. So it's okay to lead and not be the one that knows everything about everything, right?
Yeah. What's like if you were to, do you have any, so I guess maybe two-part question. You're in the car alone driving from here to Phoenix or back and forth. Or if you're just by yourself, like what do you like to listen to? Podcasts, audiobooks, music? And do you have any like recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, phone calls a lot. You don't always get the time. When you can, that's great time. Whether back when I was a rep or even now, is just to catch up with your people, right? Whether it's calling agents, calling your family, calling mom. Mom gets a lot of phone calls. Hey, mom. She's back in Cleveland, Ohio, so I don't get to see her as much as I'd like, living far away now. But so certainly use that time to catch up with family whenever I can. But calling your underwriters, seeing what's what. But definitely turning on the music and just rocking out with the windows down whenever I can on a nice day. But if I'm listening to podcasts, it's probably more sports related, honestly. I try to turn away from some of the political stuff when I can. The occasional Joe Rogan podcast.
Take a break,
but Ryan Russillo is one of the dudes I listen to on the sports side of things, and just catch up on sports whenever I can too.
Who is your favorite team or favorite sport?
Man, I don't know if I have a favorite sport. I hate to say it, my teams are all the Cleveland teams because most of them stink.
Dude, Browns.
The Browns. We'll see what they do in the draft.
I still say Indians. I know that's bad, but I still say Indians.
Me too. I got all my Indians garb. My wife and I still call them the Indians.
I know.
But at least, hey, my Ohio State Buckeyes won the national title this year, so I got one winner.
Dude, how about that strip sack against Texas?
Jack Sawyer, man.
Dude, it was so amazing.
One of my good buddies is a Texas fan, so I was... Is it too soon to text you right now? We were laughing over that, but that was a heck of a game and a heck of a run, so just definitely love my Buckeyes.
So I have a friend from Cleveland. They have a big greenhouse outside of Cleveland, and we would always bet when Oregon would play Ohio State.
Sure.
And we always would bet that whoever lost had to put like a picture on Facebook with the other team's gear. I'm not an Oregon fan, but I just wanted to have fun. every time we bet, Ohio State would win, and every time we wouldn't bet, the other team would win.
Right.
So I felt like I was always
So they played twice this year. Did you guys bet?
No, so we haven't bet in a couple years,
Okay.
but this is back in like the Terrell Pryor days.
Okay,
So
yeah,
now I'm
you
the
know.
old guy
Yeah.
talking about players that maybe some people
Decade
don't know.
plus ago,
Decade
yeah.
plus ago.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's in that claims cubicle, or maybe who's a new salesperson at an agency who's going,
Yeah.
dude, I could never be Brett
Yeah.
leading all these people, in this big, EVP kind of role.
Right.
What do you say to that person?
I love that question, honestly, because as I was over in our Seattle office even just earlier this week, and we've got a ton of young people running around the building, right? All these folks in their early 20s that are figuring things out, and I'm sure making mistakes the same way I made mistakes back then. But it's crazy. You blink and you're in this business for 20 years, and now suddenly you're the old guy trying to give advice to all these young kids that are in the business and that's just starting their career. I mean, I think the biggest advice I would give was just reach out. Don't just sit in your cubicle and do your job. Do your job really, really well.
Yeah.
Be eager, but obviously earn everything that you can in that role. Like, show that you're doing a good job, but then reach out and find out what's going on in our industry, because there are so many pathways you can go in this business that don't have to be that job doing auto physical damage claims in a cubicle. And at that moment, you don't realize that there is more than that. You're kind of just showing up, doing your thing, collecting your paycheck, and going home.
Right.
But there's so many different avenues and pathways, and even people that find themselves in one area, hey, go, if you're interested in something else, like, express it, and then see if you can get into positions where you can mentor other people. I want folks at our office in Seattle or back in Minnesota where we're headquartered to reach out to people like me and show an interest in what we do in the sales department, what we do in agency management. That'd be my biggest piece of advice, is just if you're interested in something, reach out to others and find out how you can learn more about it, so that you can show others that you are interested in pursuing perhaps a role that maybe others didn't realize you were.
Right, right. Well, I mean, what with Western National in particular, and in your territory, what are you most excited about for this coming year?
A lot. I mean, this organization is incredibly successful in its own. I think that was one of the most impressive things as I joined this group, is really nothing was broken. We're a relationship company. We believe in partnerships with our independent agencies, and I think we truly live by that and don't just say it or put it on our website or put it on our business card. So what excites me really is just that we can do more. Even though we're incredibly successful, we continue to do what got us here, keep instilling the same values that made us successful for the last 100+ years as an organization, but don't change that, but enhance and try to create more value where we can and go deeper in our partnerships with our agencies. So again, we're incredibly successful in the West, and I love being out here because every single day meeting folks like yourself, I think there's more opportunity for us to continue to go deeper with those partnerships and show why we're different.
Right, right. Well, Brett, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I think the direction Western's going is a healthy direction. I think you're the right guy to help lead this right now. So, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.